seeing more of it this upcoming season. We're going to move on to the Dayton Flyers now, okay? So on the men's side, preseason number 2. On the women, preseason number 11 right now. Of course, if you're the Flyers, you have to replace Deron Holmes, who's on to the NBA, and I feel bad for him not being able to play this year, being injured, but we'll see what happens there. What a stand-up guy. I mean, I had a chance to really work with him a lot, and just a class act for that entire team and that organization, right, under Anthony Grant. The fan base is spectacular. There's so much that you can talk about when you talk about the Dayton Flyers. And Coach, you said it earlier, right? I mean, 13,500 plus at that arena, night in, night out. It doesn't matter. To already know you got that year in and year out, that's pretty impressive.
And they make an arena feel like a gym.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment.
It's intimate.
Like you can go back to like when you were a kid playing in a big high school rivalry game, like everybody, and they know everything. And you know what they are? They're nice people, right? Ice, you're not going to believe this, but when I coached at Dayton, not one time did they ever tell me that I was losing my hair. They never once mentioned bald. I was like, yo, people, check it out. It hasn't changed.
You never got razzed at Dayton. You're like, you didn't mind going. Okay.
Not about the hair, though.
No, not about the hair. I have a question. Like I have to ask Anthony Grant. He's so calm. I just have to know how he's sleeping. I have to read this. We have Marquette at home, Northwestern at home, UNLV at home, Cincinnati, and I believe that's neutral, and Maui. My man.
A tough non-conference slate. Tough non-conference slate.
You know what?
You got North Carolina, potentially Auburn or Iowa State in there as well. Like you said, I mean, it's they're playing some good teams.
Yeah.
And you got to do it. You got to build up that non-conference. You got to get ready for the conference schedule, and it looks like they've got the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, certainly. I think this is a team that definitely can be a championship contender. You know, they have added a really good grad transfer from Ohio State and Zed Key. We just talked about the difference between adding freshman transfers versus veteran transfers. Coach, how do you feel like these new contributions, but specifically Zed Key, can add to this team?
Well, Zed Key to me is a guy that every one of his opponents, Ice, every one of his opponents needs to make sure that their dentist is on call, right? The day after you play Zed Key, you are going to be bruised. You're going to be battered, not in a dirty way. No. But you want to talk about, and Ice, how many times have we heard this? That player gives maximum effort. Zed Key gave maximum effort every single day in practice, every single day on the floor, every single day in the Big Ten. Big fan. I can remember watching him as a young kid. This kid is taking his game to as high a level as he can.
Oh, that's high praise coming from you. And you got to believe that him, also with Enoch Cheeks, a player that's on the all-defensive team for this conference, he led the team last year in steals, was second in blocks, and then third in rebounding. So a lot of production, but also on the defensive side of the basketball and having that muscle. You need a team that has the muscle, that has some enforcers. It sounds like those two will work really well together.
Well, Cheeks, Dayton, 9-2 when he scores in double figures.
Yeah.
9-2. Come on now.
Yeah. He was 6th in scoring last year, Coach, 8.1 points a game. So if he can get one more bucket, totally different story.
What a court, though. What a court. What an atmosphere. You've been there, Mike.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's just a wonderful, wonderful program.
Yeah.
Led by a gentleman. Anthony Grant is straight up a gentleman. And look, nobody's watching. I wouldn't label a lot of my coaching colleagues as gentlemen. They're good guys.
Yeah.
Anthony Grant, he is like, would not surprise me, Ice, if you walked in and said, oh, that's my philosophy professor. He's got the look.
Yeah.
He's got the charisma. He's got the class. Big fan of everything Dayton.
Yeah, me too. Super respectful. Like we said, you got Enoch Cheeks, Posh Alexander too, as well. The transfer out of Butler and St. John's on the preseason all-defensive team, and then Nate Santos, preseason first-team selection. So going to be an impressive year, I think, again for the Dayton Flyers, number 2 preseason rank in the A10.
Still have to come back, though. Still have to come back.
Yeah.
In the Atlantic 10, it's not often that you're replacing a pro.
No.
You're replacing really good players. But this kid's a pro.
Well, they had to do it twice too with Obi Toppin, right? I mean,
Great
Obi
point.
Toppin
Great point.
and then Deron Holmes, so not easy. We'll see who steps up this year. Women's side, what do we got there?
Yeah, head coach Tamika Williams-Jeter is in her 3rd season, and this team continues to grow. They have 5 more wins last season than they had in her 1st season. I feel like she is growing along with the team, but we talk about transfers. She bought in some big ones. The biggest one, though, is Ricky Harris from Ohio State. This is a player that knows how to win, is hard-nosed, could be a double-double player in the A-10. I'm a sleeper. I was surprised that she was not on the all-defensive team for all-conference, but I think she will be when it's all said and done.
All right, sounds good. Let's join the press conference now for the Dayton Flyers men's and women's basketball.
In a year for the A-10, I think we've got a great group of teams, great group of coaches and players, some returning, some new. From our standpoint, we're excited about the start of basketball season and what we get a chance to do at Dayton. I really have enjoyed the group that we've put together up to this point, just the chemistry that we've been able to build, and we're still in the early stages of practice. We're about a week, 8 days into practice, so we're still learning about ourselves and trying to figure out how to be the best version of the team that we have this year, but certainly looking forward to getting started here in a few weeks.
Thanks, Coach. We will now open the floor for questions.
Anthony, I know you back here in the back.
Patrick
Sorry.
Stevens in the back.
I know you picked up a couple veteran transfers in Posh Alexander and Zed Key in particular. Just how well have they kind of fit in with your group in the off season heading into the preseason, and just how much are you guys going to lean on both of those guys this season?
Yeah, so we've got 5 newcomers to our group with obviously a group of returners as well, but specifically, for Posh and Zed, and I would throw Jacob Connor in there. These guys come with a level of experience, having played college basketball. For Posh and Zed, they're in their 5th year. They come with a level of experience from Ohio State, and for Posh at St. John's and Butler. And so, just the fact that they're really experienced in college basketball, their learning curve, being experienced guys has been a lot easier in terms of their adjustment. And I would throw Jacob Connor in there as well. He played 2 years at Marshall, and high basketball IQ guy that's familiar with Dayton, being from the city of Dayton. So they've been great additions along with our freshmen.
If you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you.
Gentlemen, Zach Weiss, Pittsburgh Sports Now. For both of you, in what area do you feel that you've grown the most this season, and how have you used intentionality to meet that?
Yeah, I think just with the coaches adding the new pieces and stuff, I think getting the new guys in and bringing some core returning guys, I think we've, over the course of the summer, we've had, some time to spend together, and I think we've created a lot of chemistry, so I think that's been really key in how we're developing, and I think it's really special just to see how we're coming together so far.
Yeah, I would say, other than my waistline, I would agree with Nate in that this is new for us. We haven't started really any outside competition up to this point. So everything that we're learning about ourselves has been, us, just learning a new system offensively and defensively. We'll have to play differently, and so just getting ourselves familiar with what our guys are really good at, and help them play to their strengths and help the team, become the best version of itself.
Nate, how different are you guys without Deron, and how ultimately, has that off-season adjustment been? I'm sure by the time you get to the season, it's fine, but just what do you see is going to be different about you guys as a result?
Yeah, obviously, when you lose a player like Deron and his caliber, the team's going to be different. I think kind of the point of emphasis is just bringing the new guys in and having them learn the system, and then learning what we're good at. Just playing together, practicing together. Obviously, we're still in the early stage of practice, so kind of just molding together, seeing what that looks like, making sure everybody is knowing what they're doing and getting adjusted. I think that's just the biggest thing so far.
Nate, can you talk about your decision to return to Dayton this year after entering the transfer portal? And then, Coach, can you talk about how important that return is and what he means to the team?
Yeah, I think, you know, that decision it ultimately came down to, you know, Dayton being home. You know, Coach gave me opportunity last year that, you know, I don't take for granted, something that I was always looking for in college. So don't take that for granted. And, you know, Dayton is home. Fans are special. It's a special place. So I think just realizing that and being able to reflect on that ultimately helped me make this decision. And, you know, I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, and I'll just add, you know, Nate's process was relatively quick in the grand scheme of things. I think he was maybe less than a week in the portal, and I think just as he just mentioned, having a chance to reflect on the opportunity that he had and just the vision he had for himself and what he felt like he could do coming back. You know, in a day and age now where the ability to move, I think can be somewhat enticing with all the different factors that go into that and the different people that have a chance to have an impact on a young man's decision. Nate was able to look at things and make a decision, I think, was in his best interest. And I know for us, we're certainly excited that he made that decision, and we're looking forward to being able to continue working with him throughout the year.
Anthony, how do you build a roster in the age of the transfer portal? Do you seek a balance between transfers and incoming freshmen? What has changed in recent years for you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot's changed, David. I think, you know, when you look at a lot of things kind of hit at the same time, and, you know, from my seat, it almost felt like we took the approach that it was normal, but it really wasn't, you know, from COVID hitting and, you know, guys that were in college getting an extra year of eligibility. It kind of, and everybody's always said this, that, you know, it's the older teams that win in college basketball and college sports, period. And so you saw teams that had an opportunity to get old and stay old because of the fifth year, and then right after that, immediate eligibility hit, right, where guys could transfer and be immediately eligible to play, along with having a fifth year of eligibility. And then on top of that, NIL came in, where guys were able to profit off their name, image, and likeness, and also have an agent that could help them in that process, which led to some other things that were unintended consequences. Right? So all of that kind of impacted how you thought about building your roster. I think now, at least from what I see, it looks like there's starting to be a shift where at one point a couple of years ago, it was really, really difficult for a freshman that wasn't in the top 75 to 100 player to really have the opportunities that they had before because of what was available to you in the portal. Not that the portal is less important now, because I think it's a huge piece of college athletics, but certainly I think you're starting to see a shift back to the opportunities being there for more and more high school guys. So, you know, every coach is different in terms of how they choose to build their roster. You know, for me, it's always been about understanding the culture that we have not only in our program, but at the University of Dayton, what guys fit and how we want to go about doing that. And so there's a mix, I think, that you always will have to have. You want to take advantage of all the what's available to you, but certainly I think for us, we try to stay true to who we are big picture-wise.
One last question.
Coach, this is for both Coach and Nate. Aaron Bracey from Big5Hoops.com in Philly. Wondering what you guys think about the top of the conference, and specifically if you have thoughts on St. Joe's. They're going to be playing at your place on a Friday night on ESPN. Just wondering what you thought about the top of the conference and St. Joe's.
Yeah, I'll start. I think, you know, for me, honestly, I don't know at the end of the day what the top of the conference will look like. I think that's still yet to be discovered. Certainly, I feel like, you know, when you look at what St. Joe's has on their roster, how competitive our games have been with them over the last few years. They got, in my opinion, one of the elite players in our league, and Eric Reynolds. I think he's potential next level type guy. And so I know Billy's done a great job in terms of the roster that he's built. Every time we play them, it's a great environment, very competitive environment. So we expect the same, but certainly there's a lot of talent across the league, all right? And some of it we may not even be talking about, may not be in the picture. I think if you look at where the preseason rankings were last year, you probably had some teams that nobody thought would be in position to win the league, like a Richmond or a Loyola. And they stepped up once we discovered you know, what they had once they discovered what they had. So I think this year will be no different. I think there'll certainly be teams that people aren't talking about today that will make noise and will be, you know, a team that everybody has to reckon with in the league.
Yeah, like Coach said, you know, the league it's kind of a toss-up. There's so many good teams. It's a competitive league. You know, you can't really predict what the season will bring. You know, St. Joe's is a great team. You know, coming in last year, just hearing about all the good games that had happened between Dayton and St. Joe's, you know, something to look forward to. So they're always a team that you know, always have to bring your best and you respect because they have talent and they're a good team. So I look forward to playing against them and just against everybody else in the conference as well.
Okay. Let's get back to the men's side for a moment. Nate Santos joins us now from the podium here for a few minutes. Nate, thanks so much for joining us. Just love your intensity, your energy out there on the court, watching you play. Looking forward to seeing that again this season. I wanted to start off, though, asking you about, you know, Anthony Grant, who we always seem to see very chill and, you know, doesn't say too much, but we know that's probably a little bit different, you know, as a player. But what do you get from Coach Grant? Tell me about what you've learned and you've gained in the years that you've been there and how Anthony Grant helps you.
What you said is important and very intentional with him, just about how to play the game, but not only about basketball, but outside of basketball, you know, being a human being and whatnot.
So Nate, the Dayton program, the Dayton brand is synonymous with excellence on and off the court. From a player's perspective, what are the challenges that come with that, and then what are the advantages?
Some of the challenges might be, you know, just kind of the expectations and whatnot. You know, we hold ourselves to a high standard. You know, that's kind of the culture that's been built at Dayton. You know, but I think the advantages are, you know, you push yourself to be a better person outside of basketball. You know, just interacting within the community. Dayton's a great community. You know, they interact with us. They support us a lot. So, you know, I think it pushes us to be better, to hold ourselves to a high standard.
Nate, you and Coach both chatted about some of the newcomers that you've had come to this team. Give us one or two that have really stood out to you early in the preseason.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I mean, I like to say all of them. You know, everybody works hard. They each bring their own unique skill set. So, you know, obviously you got fifth-year guys with Posh Alexander and Zay Key, you know, bringing a lot of veteran experience. You got Jacob Connor coming in from Marshall, who has experience. And, you know, we have very two skilled freshmen come in who I think, you know, once they learn kind of the bumps and stuff with college basketball, I think, you know, they'll help us out a lot and win some games.
Nate, style of play in the Atlantic 10. Do you enjoy the fact that it varies building to building, coach to coach, program to program?
Yeah, I enjoy that a lot. I think it makes it very interesting. You know, I think that's what makes this conference so competitive and so great is that every night, whoever you play, it's going to be different. It's going to be a different matchup. So I think that's what makes it so tough and why it's so rewarding when you have success in this conference.
Great point.
Also prepares you for the tournament.
Nate, thank you so much. We appreciate the time and wishing you guys all the best this season. We'll see you down the line, okay? Nate Santos from the Dayton Flyers here today, and we have more to come here in this morning session. Still to come, we got UMass, Rhode Island, VCU, St. Bonaventure. We'll also hear from Atlantic 10 Commissioner Bernadette McGlade. That's all coming up here on the morning session after we take this time out. Stay with us. You're watching the 2024 Atlantic 10 Conference Media Day from Washington, D.C.